This is Laugh or Death, hosted by keynote speaker Paul Ozenkup.
So just a little disclaimer about this episode. This was one of two episodes where we had a little bit of recording error, I guess, a little technical error, where my microphone, for some reason, was giving way too harsh of S sounds. So I sounded kind of like a teenager who had way too many braces in their mouth. Like, Mom said it's time for supper, Sam, so come to the table. You know, a little bit of that, not quite as bad as that. But you may notice that the sound quality on my mic specifically isn't as good as normal. But we still thought that the content in these episodes was too good to pass up. So we wanted to still give you this episode, and we cleaned it up as best we could. Enjoy. All right. I am stoked about my guest today. Vic Lombardi is one of the most respected sports personalities in the country. He's previously worked as the sports anchor for Denver CBS 4. He's got more than 25 years experience in the sports industry, a 32-time Emmy Award winner, 16 for Best Sports Anchor, and voted the 2018 Colorado Sportscaster of the Year. He's also the current studio host for the pregame, halftime, and postgame broadcast of the Denver Nuggets, and co-host of the morning show on Altitude Sports Radio 92.5. And most importantly, for 25 years, according to him, he has maintained the most punchable face in Denver media. So congratulations on that distinct honor, Vic, and welcome and thanks, man.
Yeah, that last thing you said is something that I'm going to take to my grave as my greatest character trait of all time, is the ability to have this face punchable beyond all of Colorado. It's awesome. Thank you.
Well, when you're a sports anchor, man, I'm sure all the enemy team's fans, you know, they probably have a few moments here and there where they want to have a take at
especially when you goad them, and I like to goad people. Social media has offered me an opportunity to go places I never thought I'd go. It's a wonderful venue, a platform to snipe at people back and forth. Sometimes it gets a little ugly, sometimes it gets nasty, but most of the time it's in good fun.
Well, one of my favorite things that you do is like your man on the street videos where you're like interviewing people, like a lot of times Lakers fans, you know, you'll be out doing stuff with Lakers fans or, you know, even just asking them like, what is a nugget, you know, seeing if they even understand like, but you just have a lot of good fun times with the fans, I think.
Well, I appreciate that. That to me, that's the core of what we do. I mean, if we don't have fans that follow these teams, we're not doing this. What are we here for?
Yeah.
The fans are the ones who consume the product and the content. And if they're not watching or listening or paying attention, then I don't have a job.
Yeah. What's the point? Yeah. Oh, well, let's let the listener kind of get to know you a little bit. So I always like to ask, what is something weird about you that we wouldn't know? Something weird about you that you love, or something weird that makes you happy?
You know, first of all, I think everybody's weird. When you hear people say, man, that person's weird. Everybody's weird in their own way. If you weren't weird, you wouldn't have a uniqueness about you. And if you're not unique, what are you, right? We're not robots. So we're all weird. I got some crazy stuff that maybe it's my age. I can't tolerate ear hair or nose hair. Like, if I'm feeling my ear and I feel any hair, I'm immediately going to the little scissor area or the shaving kit, and I am ridding myself of all ear hair and nose hair. My brother has some hair growing out of his ear that it can compete with the Amazon forest. I always tease him. I'm like, what are you doing with your ears, dude? Take care of that shit.
Next thing you know, he's going to braid it.
From ear hair bothers me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that's a good point. That's a time of life that, like, I'm going through that right now that people don't prepare you for. Is like, you're going to start growing. Like, I'll get these black little antennas coming out the top of my ear. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Where is this coming from, man? My hair on my head didn't fall out. I think it just went inside my body and is trying to escape other places.
Like, I'll stare sometimes at people. And I'll notice it's not even hygiene. It's things you don't see because people don't spend the entire morning looking in the mirror at their faces ultra magnified. But if I look at somebody and they got like nose hair out the top of their nose, like And I've
Oh,
had these before.
oh yeah.
And I just can't take my eyes off it. The conversation's over. I don't care who you are. You can be the most important person on earth, but if a nose hair, it's over. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be your friend.
You're getting on a plane. And they're like, anyway, sir, are you willing and able to do the emergency exit? And you're just looking, going, you got a hair right there.
I can't do it. No.
That's funny. All right, cool. Well, okay. I know if we ever meet in person, I'll trim. And you have,
Make sure you're properly hygiene, please.
yeah. So speaking of TV, with your career, at what point in your career did you decide I'm not going to give a shit what people think of me, or I'm just going to have fun with this, or like and be a little more lighthearted than say a lot of people with your job take themselves and their job very seriously.
That's a great question. And it's been a pet peeve of mine from the moment I got into this business. When you're first getting into it, you're just trying to get along. You're trying to be one of the guys, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to rock the boat. You just want to learn the business. That was me early on. I'm just trying to learn the business. But then you get to a point and you say to yourself, I can't do what this person does. I'm not capable of doing that, but I can do this. And
Yeah.
when I was young, when I was in my early 20s, I was a young sportscaster in Austin, Texas. And I remember going about doing stories, and everybody did the story the same way. And everybody asked the same question. And everybody's feature when they came back from a press conference looked the same, sounded the same. And I just remember telling myself, I'm not going to do that. I'm just not going to do that. I'm going to find a different angle. Most of the time it's a humorous angle. Most of the time it's a weird angle. It's something different because everybody does it the same way and I can't tolerate it. I don't want to be the same. So, in my early 20s, I just decided I'm going to make sure that my sportscast and my presentation of how I deliver sports is going to be different from everybody else's. And it doesn't appeal to everybody. Some people may say that's off the wall. A lot of people looked at it and said, humor isn't funny to everybody. Your sense of humor may not appeal to a 50-year-old man or a 70-year-old person. And that's fine. I understand that. I totally understand humor doesn't appeal, but it's the only way I know how to present it. So I was pretty comfortable with that at a young age.
One of my favorite things that I think I've heard you talk about, and I'm guessing it was back in these Austin days, I don't know, but if you want to tell, like, there was a time when you dressed up one of your staff like the weatherman or something as a punter at Dallas Cowboys training camp.
It dawned on me, and man, I've got to find this story. It's somewhere in the archives of KXAN television in Austin, Texas. And when we're done with this podcast, I want to snip this little part of the podcast and I want to send it to them because if anybody can find this, I want to see it again before I die. So one year we're in it's in the heat of the summer. It's hot, it's humid. The Dallas Cowboys used to practice at St. Edward's, which is a small school college in Austin, South Austin. And it was hot and it was cumbersome. And they would attract fans galore. That was back in the day when 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 fans would show up. The Cowboys would practice in the heat, and the media, back then, we were allowed on the practice field. We could pretty much go wherever we wanted to on the practice field.
Nice.
Not today. Different deal. So I'm sitting at practice one day and I'm watching these guys, and those teams, they would carry 100 players in training camp. A lot of them, we didn't know who the hell they were. Who's that guy? You'd have to look at your roster. So one day it just dawned on me. I said, what if I showed up with a dude who looked like a football player? I couldn't do it. Who looked sort of like a football guy. Put him in a Cowboys uniform and just see how long they can go about conducting practice before somebody noticed. And I looked at my weatherman. His name was Russ Ray, 6'7". And I said, well, what position could he play? Let's make him a punter. I went to the local sporting goods store. I got shoulder pads. We got him a Cowboys jersey. We got him a helmet. We got everything. And right before practice, he came out to the practice field and I said, Russ, we had a wireless microphone on him. I said, just start running around with the guys and see what happens. Well, he lasted the entire practice session. He didn't really do anything, but he stood on the sidelines and just talked to players. He's talking to Troy Aikman. He's talking to fellow coaches. He's talking to everybody like he's a player. Nobody knows any different. He looked like a player. He's carrying a helmet around. And then after practice ends, he's running wind sprints with the players because Jimmy Johnson was mad that day, made him run wind sprints. He's running wind sprints. And so he's coming to the field, and I'm asking the special teams coach, I'll never forget it, Dave, can't remember his last name. I'm asking the special teams coach, and he's looking over at Russ. I go, what chance do you give this guy making the roster? And he looks over and he double takes like he's never seen this guy. He goes, well, hard work and you can make any roster. You work hard. We're just laughing. Put the whole story together. And I think it ended up going like a 5-minute story. But that was the first Emmy I'd ever won because we sent it to Emmys. It was just stupid. It was all undercover crap. I'm surprised that the Dallas Cowboys didn't get me in trouble. I'm surprised that they let it go, but nobody said anything about it. They just laughed because we didn't mean any harm, but we snuck a weatherman into a practice day and he went through an entire practice as if he were a punter. I thought it was funny.
That is amazing. You won an Emmy for that bit?
Yeah.
That is
we
awesome.
did. Yeah, that was the first one because it was just so elaborate and stupid. Because we took it to the next level. Not only did it practice, but we're interviewing guys. He's walking next to Aikman. I'm interviewing Aikman saying, what do you think of Russ? And it was just stupid. And the entire time, nobody thought any different. They thought he was a player.
Well, yeah, I'll say if anyone who is listening, if you're a sports fan or a Denver sports fan in particular, if you really should follow Vic because you get stuff like that. One of my favorite things that I used to see you do or you'd done a few times, you'd be like interviewing people in the locker room, and it's always just so tense and and it's a high pressure business, man. But you didn't have a microphone, so you would just hold a spoon up to dudes, and they didn't even notice, man. They would just talk into your spoon. Man. So great.
It's funny because I've covered, I'm 56 years old. I must have covered close to 30 football training camps. I've been to every damn training camp in the world. And you get to so many, been maybe 10 years ago. It's all the same. They all blend the same. I'm so tired of asking the same questions, doing the same thing. You get bored. More of it's just I'm selfish because I'm bored. So one day we're interviewing guys and it's these group interviews. There's like 10 cameras and 10 microphones. I'm like, I'm going to try something different. So I started holding assorted objects. I had a spoon. I had a pocket knife. I had just my finger. I had just multiple objects that I put in front of their faces, and they just kept talking as if nothing changed. It was hilarious, Dave. It's almost like, hey, you're doing a sociological experiment. They're so used to speaking into objects. They'll speak into a pen and not think any different.
Right. Yeah. And it is kind of cool. I remember seeing you out in Greeley at training camp. So I worked for housing. I worked in Lawrence and Hall where the Broncos stayed, and so I would go walk around training. I was up there for the summers. One of the reasons that I loved watching you and Bob Costas were two of my favorites is because I'm only 5'4", and so I was like, oh man, these are fellow short guys that love sports, man. I can dig it with these guys. But what I realized is that the athletes, getting to see them up close sometimes, some of them have really good senses of humor. Like I remember being in an elevator with Ed McCaffrey, and he and Ed McCaffrey's great Broncos receiver, and he at the time was doing like McDonald's commercials on TV.
Yeah.
And I had a bag of Burger King, and I'm just mowing down Burger King fries in the elevator, and I go, man, these Burger King fries sure are good. And he just looks over at me and goes, all that shit'll kill you. And I'm like, man, what a cool guy. He doesn't have to talk to me, but it's just like, good guy. What's an athlete that you've covered that you feel like, man, he's got a great sense of humor? Like his sense of humor is just, maybe helps him in some way, or that you've just been in awe of.
There's so many. I mean, I can go back to when I worked in Phoenix, Arizona. I got to become friendly with Charles Barkley. Charles, everybody knows Charles now as a broadcaster, but back then he was a player, and he was in the NBA Finals against Michael Jordan. But to be able to interview Charles Barkley on a daily basis was like stealing, because you wouldn't even have to have it. You just throw a microphone in front of his face and say, go. It was so easy. He always had an opinion on something, on anything. So he was my first gift, I would call. I've had so many since then who sort of get it, and usually they're lesser players. Most of the time they're guys who are role players that don't have as much to lose, They're not as wound up. They have fun stuff. I've done some stuff. Brandon McManus, the former Broncos kicker, he and I hit it up. He understood my sense of humor. I've done some stories where he and I jumped in an old El Camino and we went low riding and dumb stuff like that. I enjoy guys who engage in that manner and that they don't take themselves too seriously, because what are we in this for? We're here to entertain. They're here to entertain. So why not entertain?
I love it. I love it. Well, so, this podcast is called Laugh or Death. It's all about, just enjoying the power of humor in our lives, whether it's at work, in our personal lives, that kind of stuff. And they say laughter is the best medicine, to get us through hard times. Has there been a time where your chips were down, life kind of dealt you a more serious blow, and that humor has helped kind of buoy you through that, or you found humor in a place where you weren't going to?
All the time. I wouldn't be in this business. I was asked a long time ago, 25 years ago, I was asked, hey, do you want to transition to news from sports? Because a lot of sportscasters do that. A lot of very prominent sportscasters make the transition. And I thought about it, and I had a job offer to go do news. And I said, no, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I couldn't do it because I want to laugh. I want to smile. And sports lends itself to that. You can get away with certain things. I can't do that in news. So this job has given me a vehicle to do exactly that. And I can't tell you how many times it's helped me. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer 6 years ago, and it was a pretty low moment for me. I was scared, very scared. At the time, I was doing my radio show in the morning, and humor helped get me through it. It was therapeutic, and it still is. I make fun of it. I make light of it. As much as serious as it is, if you're not laughing about it, you're going to go down a rabbit hole and really ruin yourself. The stress of, I had dark brown hair before I was dark, luscious, thick brown hair.
Oh, you love your hair, man.
Cancer, and a few months later, here I am. And it literally turned my hair gray.
Yeah. I've listened to your morning show quite a bit because growing up in Denver, my family, we didn't go to church. We didn't really I wasn't a religious guy. So my religion was Denver Broncos football. And so, that's just my absolute addiction. But so I listen to as much of your show as I can. And it is fun and even therapeutic for the listener to hear you and your co-hosts kind of give each other crap. And even about the prostate thing, they'll be like, hey, take it easy on him. The man doesn't have a prostate, that kind of stuff. And it does. It's so relatable to be able to go, okay, well, this guy's obviously gone through it. You shared a lot of your difficult times, even on the air, but then also to be able to have the perspective to be able to still, sometimes you can't laugh at it, but you can still find a way to laugh through it a little bit.
Well, it's like doing a show with my brothers. I do a show in Denver with Mark Moser, the As play-by-play guy, Brett Kane, who is a wonderful young kid. I call him a kid, but he's not. But he's younger than us, and he offers a great, he's hilarious, put it that way. So we love to have fun. And when you're in a locker room, when you're hanging out with your boys, forget the locker room. You're hanging out with your boys, your best friends. You're not friends unless you could beat the crap out of each other mentally, unless you could talk shit. That's what friends do. That's what brothers do. I've got two younger brothers. We kill each other. And it's not done out of anger. It's not done out of, you're not trying to violently take over. You're just having fun. And I couldn't fathom doing a talk show every day for 3 hours without the ability to talk trash to my co-hosts. It's part of what we do. It's part of who we are.
Oh yeah, you guys beat each other up. It's absolutely great. And Mark Moser, he's always got all those one-liners too. Sitting there with your teeth in your mouth and whatever.
Yeah.
But the one of the things that I really like that I think anyone listening could take a lesson from wherever you work, whatever type of work you're in. One of the cool things you guys do, there's kind of two parts to it. One, at the end of every week, you do something called drunk takes, where your producer takes random bits from your show where you're saying something stupid or maybe making some noises, and they slow them down to half speed so it sounds like you're drunk saying these things.
Yeah.
And all of you guys end the week just cracking up, laughing at yourselves in those drunk take moments. And so as a listener, so do I. And then at the end of each year, the Moji Awards, where your producer goes back and takes basically all of your screw ups and mistakes or that kind of thing, or maybe the worst moments, and you guys vote on, what are the best worst moments. And I think to be able to embrace like the imperfection of your work and of life, that's really something special, I think.
Yeah, we're not afraid to make fun of ourselves. And I think that's what makes us different from some shows and most shows, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people in my business, they take themselves too seriously. I'll be honest with you. It's a big pet peeve of mine. Sports journalists who take themselves ultra seriously, don't laugh, don't smile, don't look at the lighter side, because why are you in this business? It's not meant to be that serious. It is indeed the toy room. We're not talking about homicides here and fires and hunger. We're talking about touchdowns. We're talking about why a guy didn't get back on defense. We're talking about a guy holding out for more money. This isn't the end of the world. We're having fun here. So our radio show sort of applies the humor element and the self-deprecating humor that we use. We beat the crap out of each other for a reason, because we are really dumb at the heart of this. And when you slow stuff down, it's like slow-mo in television. You watch a game and you see the replay and they slow it. Oh, that wasn't a catch. Or no, he didn't have possession. When you slow down our thoughts, we really get a chance to see and hear how dumb we really sound. Like, oh, I can't believe you said that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing, but it endears people to you. It's like, oh, he's just one of us. It's just like me. I do stuff like that all the time, and I think that's the power, particularly when you're in a position of influence or authority or whatever, to be able to kind of make fun of yourself. I think people feel like, oh, I can relate to that quite a bit. Are there any favorite bits, like doing radio or moments doing radio, that stick out to you? Like, oh, this is one of my favorite things that we did, or funny moments.
Well, you hit on the Moji Awards, which is 2-3 straight days of just gaffes and mistakes and pounding on each other for our mistakes. And we did it last week, and I can honestly tell you, 2 days of just utter laughter to the point where my stomach hurt. I was laughing so much. And I always wonder, as we're doing this, I'm like, are people, do they think this is dumb? Am I the only one laughing? Because my cohorts are laughing. We're all laughing together. And I just found it so damn good. And so radio to me is sort of my outlet. Television is, my other job. Television is not quite as fun. It's where I started. It's what I do. It obviously is an important part of who I am, but everybody does television now. These phones, everybody does a video, and
right.
Everybody's on television. Radio is, to me, still the heart of creativity, because nothing's scripted. We're not scripting anything. I don't write down what I say. Everything's off the top of our heads, and it doesn't work unless you have the chemistry with your co-hosts. Like, I've done many radio shows with many different hosts, and a lot of them have been good, a lot of them have been bad. But when you have that rare, raw chemistry, that's special, man. You bottle that up, and I think we have it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's, the other thing is that laughter, it's just so contagious. So when you hear people genuinely who are having a good time with each other, you want to be a part of that. It's like, oh, this feels good to anybody who's in vicinity or listening. It's like, God, I want to be a part of some of that. Did you, a lot of what you do on social media, you involve your family. Like, you'll have video of your dad and your mom and that kind of stuff. And so do you get your sense of humor from them? Are they in on the joke? Do they enjoy that? Kind of being part of that?
Comes from my dad. My dad's always been, you used the word weird. My dad is an immigrant. My mom and dad are both Italian. And so they came to this country with virtually nothing. They had to learn a new language, all that stuff. And my dad's always had a really weird sense of humor. And I think it stems from his makeup, the way he approaches life. And so, when we're at home, and we're a very tight-knit family, my brothers, I have a sister as well. We eat at my parents' house. I just got done eating there. We eat there every day. It's me and my brothers, my mom and dad. Today, my nephew showed up. So it's always sort of our meeting point. And I don't do it because my mom does all the cooking, which I love. I'm not going to lie to you. I still eat it. But it's because, that's a chance to hang out with your bros. And when we're there, we're usually beating the crap out of each other. Again, the same thing I do on the radio with my morning. So I think the sense of humor is a familial thing. We as a family really love that aspect of poking fun at one another. We've been very blessed. We haven't had much tragedy in our lives, knock on wood. And we've all lived very privileged lifestyles. My parents took care of us, man. They really have. And this is my way of paying them back is I want to make sure that they see us every day and they cherish those memories every day. And I know I do.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, hey, man, I really appreciate you doing this. And, as an outside observer who, just loves Denver sports and have kind of seen your career from, the TV stuff you do and the radio stuff you do. It really is, to me, it's your sense of humor that separates you from really every other sports caster that I watch or listen to. It's that's kind of the driving force.
And I appreciate the kind words. I have one last question for you.
Yeah.
If I hand you an apple, how do you eat that apple? What system do you have in place for eating that apple?
If you hand me an apple?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm slicing it up, man. I mean,
You're
can't
slicing
eat it anyway, but I'm slicing that thing up.
Okay. All right. See, now, I watch how people eat their fruits, especially apples. I have a systematic arrangement I use. When I eat an apple, I go down the middle first, all the way around the middle. Then I go top core, eat that bottom core, and then I just chop away at the rest of the apple. When I see people eat an apple by taking one bite on one side and then a bite on the other, I can't do it. I can't be your friend. If there's no system in place to eating your apple, what are you doing with your life?
Well, hey, man, I'm surprised you even asked about an apple because every video I see of you, you're mowing a banana down your gullet. So
Good point.
So I'm surprised there was an apple you were asking about. But, hey, that's a good point. You can't just haphazardly be just rocking an apple from all different angles. So maybe that's another weird thing about you.
I agree.
Oh, man. Well, hey, yeah, I appreciate you just keeping it light. And, the thing you mentioned about the opportunity you had to go over from sports to news. I was thinking about that, and it's like going from working in the toy store of life to like the department store, Macy's menswear. It's like, why would I want to do that? And what you do working in that toy store of life, bringing people a distraction a lot of times from the shit they're going through is so there are other people out there that are dealing with cancer or other family issues going on, and it really is something that people need. So keep doing it, and those doing those stupid awards and stuff like that. I mean, it is, hey, if you guys are having fun, so is everybody else.
Very nice, Paul. I appreciate all the kind words, and I appreciate you watching and listening to our show, even if you're not in Denver anymore. That's really cool.
Yeah, you got it. All right, follow him, Vic Lombardi, on Twitter and Altitude Sports TV, and you can find him anywhere you're finding Denver sports. So thanks a lot, Vic. I really appreciate it, man.
Take care.
You've been listening to Laugh or Death with Paul Ozencup. If you're planning a conference or event and want something smart, meaningful, and actually funny, book Paul to speak. To learn more or to get a copy of his book, The Humor Habit, visit laughordeath.com.